biggest struggle that I've seen for myself and for anyone else that reaches out to me today that wants to learn how to underwrite is that the Excel work is straightforward. You plug numbers in, you can follow cells to see where the formulas lead, but you don't know what you don't know. So a lot of these spreadsheets have areas where you're supposed to put absorption rates. So they're supposed to put in how much you're supposed to set aside for contract services. But if you've never owned a multifamily asset before, how are you supposed to know what you don't know? So part of what I've tried to do with the course that I run is try to fill those gaps, try to give you an over the shoulder look at exactly how I underwrite specific deals on a daily basis, and also give you the benchmarks, the assumptions that you can use as a starting point. I can't give you perfect answers for every single market and every single asset class across the United States, but at least piggybacking off of a real operator's experience so that you can kind of launch your own. I consider myself an operator first and foremost. I've run my own syndications. I participate in other syndications, but I like, keeping my hands onto the property so that I can kind of watch the growth and stabilization myself. And I'm an asset manager on most of my properties too. So it's something that I also love to do. And I do think they go kind of hand in hand. You have to project the business plan first, and then you kind of have to execute. And so I try to give a lot more depth than the Excel walkthroughs that currently exist, and inject a lot of my personal experience rather than just kind of keep it high level.
Certainly. I mean, I think the one thing that we've always heard, and I think it's been the story's been told 1,000 times, is the ability to talk yourself into a deal by just
Yeah.
manipulating numbers. And I think that's something that we talked a little bit about. I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit. Is that there's so much more to it than just saying, "Oh, hey, I hit this number and my cell on this Michael Blanc
Mhm.
spreadsheet turned green," right? Like the ability to understand. For example, we have some folks that are just getting into this game that listen to the podcast. If you wouldn't mind just explaining a little bit more about absorption rates and some of those nuances that you're talking about, that isn't just plugging it in. What does that actually mean, absorption rate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's essentially how fast units can be leased after you renovate them, because there's always a lag. It takes time to, clean a unit. It takes time for a property management company to find a tenant for you. And it's those nuances that people don't really understand. And some of the models might not even allow you to input that. There are some models out there that assume that as soon as you finish construction, it's leased right then and there, which doesn't make sense realistically. And I think you brought up a good point in that there's a lot of confusion on how a deal can pencil. You see all these people that are closing deals, taking down 200 units for high prices, and a lot of newer investors are kind of confused. And what they don't realize that there's I say that there's about a dozen levers that you can pull, that I can make any deal work. You give me any single deal and I can, fudge the numbers enough
Right.
where it'll look amazing. But if you don't understand the levers yourself, you're not going to know what I'm pulling or pushing, and what I might think is right for me. Like, it's conservative enough for me to take the risk, might not be conservative enough for you to take the risk. I like underwriting because it forces you to learn a lot of the nuances of multifamily. And in my opinion, the only person you can truly trust is yourself. So I can't tell you if an investment is right for you, but if you have the knowledge to be able to understand a business plan and understand a deal, then you can kind of make that decision on your own.